Hi, you guys. So I'm going to be answering questions 4, 6, 7, and 8 for 9.5. So here's question 4. It says, one April morning in Churchill, Manitoba, the temperature was minus 14 degrees Celsius. In late afternoon, the temperature was 9 degrees Celsius higher. What was the temperature in the late afternoon? So I wrote that I started with minus 14 degrees Celsius, and then they told me that my temperature is going to go up 9 degrees. So I went negative 14, and then I'm going to add the positive number 9 to see that the temperature is now going to be at negative 5. And you could use a number line or maybe count that in your head to find that temperature. So that is the answer to question 4. Now we had question 6. So question 6 is about a road. It says the highest paved road in British Columbia is Highway 3 in the Kootenay Pass. It has an elevation of 1,774 meters above the Fraser River. It is 1,794 meters above the George Massey Trail under the Fraser River. What is the elevation of the tunnel? So again, I wrote down my two numbers. So I have a river that's 1,774 meters above, and then a tunnel that's 1,794 meters above. Now the question is asking what is the elevation of the tunnel. So the tunnel, I know, will have to have a negative elevation because it is below the river. It's under the river. So I drew a little diagram here. Here's the highway. So from the river to the highway, I have my first number, and then from the tunnel to the highway, I have my second number. So really it's asking me what's the difference between the distance from the river to the tunnel, and I got that distance is 20. There is a 20 meter difference between these two numbers, so that is how low my tunnel would be underwater. Next we have question 7, which says, one afternoon in Fort Simpson, Northwest Territories, the air temperature was negative 10 and the wind speed was 25 kilometers an hour. The air temperature dropped by 5 degrees Celsius in the evening, but the wind chill did not change. What is the change in wind speed from the afternoon to the evening? So for this one, I had to go up a couple pages because they made me this lovely chart. So first they tell me that my air temperature is 10 degrees and my wind chill is 25 an hour. So I know that if I go to 10 degrees, or negative 10, sorry, and 25 kilometers an hour, they're telling me that the actual temperature is negative 19 or minus 19 outside. Okay, so now I know that the next info they give me is that it's going to drop by 5 degrees. So I'm going to move into this negative 15 column because my temperature dropped by 5 degrees, but the wind chill didn't change. So that means that my temperature still has to be negative 19, but the air temperature has dropped. So that means I'm going to go move up my chart to find the negative 19 in this column, and then I can see that the wind speed was actually 5 kilometers an hour. So that 5 kilometers an hour is our answer to question 7. Okay, so now we have our last question, which is question 8. A company made a profit of 8 million one year and a loss of 12 million the next year. What was the company's total profit or loss over the 2 years, and how much better was the company's result in the first year than in the second year? So the first thing I'm going to do with this question is, because it has such big numbers, I'm actually just going to work with the number 8 and the number 12. Because they're both in the millions, I can just kind of ignore the millions and do the math and add the millions back on later. So I know in this question, I have a positive 8 million. They gained 8 million. They had a profit of 8 million, and then they lost 12 million. So my equation is positive 8 plus negative 12. And if I do that math, it gets me negative 4. So I know that the company has actually lost 4 million in its 2 years, which is not very good for this poor company. I hope they do better in their third year. So how much better was the company's result in the first year than the second year? Well, I am going to take positive 8 and subtract it from negative 12 to find out that the difference between those two numbers is 20. And I know because I took off the word million that this 20 is actually referring to 20 million. So that is the difference between these two numbers. So let me know if you have any questions about these four numbers. They are just applying the math you learned, but I know problem or word problem questions can sometimes be a little bit difficult. Thanks, guys.